My stepchildren said they answer only to their biological parents. So I changed the locks, cancelled every privilege in my name, and told their father pickup was tonight. No one argued. Hello everyone, welcome to Reddit Visuals. You know what? I used to believe that love and patience could win over anyone, especially kids. That if you just showed up consistently and treated children with kindness, they'd eventually come around. I learned the hard way that some people, even kids, will take your kindness for weakness and your generosity for granted. My name is Mark. I'm 42, and I've been married to my wife Jessica for 3 years now. This story is about the moment I finally stood up for myself and my family, and why sometimes the most loving thing you can do is set boundaries that actually mean something. When Jessica and I got married, we became a blended family. I brought my 2 kids from my previous marriage, Emma, who's 10, and Tyler, who's 8. Jessica brought her 2 kids from her first marriage, Mason, who's 16, and Chloe, who's 14. Their biological father, David, lives about 20 minutes away and has them every other weekend. From day one, I tried to be the stepdad I wished I'd had growing up. I included Mason and Chloe in everything: family game nights, vacation planning, and even asking their input on house rules. I paid for their school supplies, sports equipment, and took them to practices just like I did for Emma and Tyler. But here's the thing about respect. You can't force it and you can't buy it. The first red flag came about 6 months after we all moved in together. I asked Mason to help carry groceries in from the car. Simple request, right? He looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're not my dad. I don't have to listen to you." Jessica overheard and told him to help anyway, which he did, but with this attitude that made it clear he was only doing it because his mom said so, not because he respected me as an adult in the house. I let it slide. He's adjusting, I told myself. This is hard for him too. But it didn't get better. It got worse. Mason and Chloe developed this pattern of selective hearing. They'd respond immediately when Jessica asked them to do something, but when I made the same request, they'd act like I hadn't spoken. Or they'd look at me with this blank stare and say, "I'll wait for Mom to tell me." The breaking point started building in small moments, like when I'd cook dinner for everyone, and Mason would make a show of asking Jessica if it was okay to eat what I'd made, or when Chloe would leave messes in common areas, and when I asked her to clean up, she'd say, "My mom didn't tell me to." Then it started affecting my own kids. Emma came to me crying one day because Mason had taken her art supplies without asking. When she asked for them back, he told her, "Your dad doesn't make the rules here. Only real parents do. Real parents." Tyler started asking me why Mason and Chloe didn't have to listen to me like he did. How do you explain to an 8-year-old that some kids in the house follow different rules based on whose DNA they share? I talked to Jessica about it multiple times. She'd have conversations with Mason and Chloe. They'd apologize, and things would be okay for a few days. Then we'd be right back to the same pattern. "They're still adjusting," Jessica would say. "Their father fills their heads with ideas about loyalty and biological family. Just give it more time." But time wasn't fixing anything. It was making things worse because Mason and Chloe were learning they could disrespect me without real consequences. The incident that changed everything happened on a Thursday night in February. I'd had a long day at work, and I came home to find Tyler in his room crying. When I asked what was wrong, he told me that Mason had broken his favorite toy, a model airplane we'd built together. And when Tyler got upset, Mason said, "Tell your dad to buy you a new one. That's all he's good for anyway." I found Mason in the living room playing video games like nothing had happened. "Mason," I said, "we need to talk about what happened with Tyler's airplane." He didn't even pause his game. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You broke his model airplane, the one we built together." He shrugged. Accidents happen. This wasn't an accident. Tyler said you threw it against the wall when he wouldn't let you use his gaming headset. Mason finally looked at me, but his expression was pure defiance. Tyler's lying, and even if he wasn't, you're not my dad. I don't have to explain anything to you. You're living in my house, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. You're eating food I buy, using electricity I pay for, and you just broke something that belongs to my son. You absolutely do owe me an explanation. He laughed. Your house? Mom pays rent, too. Your son? Tyler's not even related to me. And you? You're just Mom's husband. You're not my parent. You don't answer to you. Something snapped inside me. Not anger exactly, but this cold clarity. This kid had just told me exactly where I stood in his eyes. And it wasn't just disrespectful, it was cruel. But instead of yelling, I nodded. Okay, I said. I hear you loud and clear. I walked away and went to my home office. I pulled out my laptop and started making a list of everything in the house that was in my name or that I paid for. The mortgage, the utilities, the internet, the cable, the family cell phone plan that included Mason and Chloe's phones, the car insurance that covered Jessica's car, the one she drove Mason and Chloe around in, the gym membership, the streaming services, even the gaming console Mason had been playing on. Then I started making phone calls. I called my cell phone provider and removed Mason and Chloe's lines from our family plan. I called the cable company and scheduled a disconnection for the next day. I called the internet provider and did the same. I changed the password on all the streaming accounts. Jessica found me in the office around 10 p.m. What are you doing? She asked. Mason made it very clear tonight that I'm not his parent and he doesn't answer to me, I said, without looking up from my computer. So I'm making sure he doesn't have to worry about accepting anything from someone who isn't his parent. Her face went pale. Mark, what did you do? I'm removing Mason and Chloe from everything that's in my name or that I pay for. Their phones are already disconnected. Internet and cable get shut off tomorrow. I'm also going to need David's address because I'll be dropping off their belongings this weekend. You can't be serious. I looked at her. Jessica, your son just told me I'm nothing more than your husband, that I have no authority in my own house, that my children don't matter because they're not related to him. He's right that I'm not his parent, but that means I'm not responsible for him either. They're kids, Mark. They're still learning. No, I interrupted. Emma and Tyler are kids, and they've learned to be respectful. Mason is 16. He's old enough to drive, old enough to have a job, old enough to understand consequences. If he wants to act like I don't exist, then as far as his privileges go, I won't exist. I spent the next day implementing my plan. I packed up Mason and Chloe's belongings, clothes, electronics, personal items, and loaded them into my truck. I changed the locks on the house and had new keys made for Jessica, Emma, Tyler, and myself. When Jessica, Mason, and Chloe came home that afternoon and couldn't get in, they called me. Mark, Jessica said when I answered, we can't get in the house. I changed the locks, I said calmly. Mason and Chloe's things are packed and ready to go to David's. You can't kick out my children. I'm not kicking them out because they're your children. I'm removing them because they've made it clear they don't recognize me as having any authority in my own home. People who don't respect the homeowner don't get to live in the home. There was silence on the other end. I'll be home in 20 minutes, I continued. David can pick them up then, or you can drive them over, but they're not coming back in this house until they can treat me with basic respect. When I got home, David was already there. Jessica had called him, and he'd come straight over. This seems pretty extreme over some teenage attitude, David said when he saw me. I looked at him steadily. David, if your son told you that you weren't his parent, that he didn't have to listen to you, and that your children didn't matter to him, what would you do? David was quiet for a moment. I'd probably want to teach him a lesson. That's all I'm doing, teaching a lesson about respect and consequences. I turned to Mason and Chloe, who were standing next to Jessica's car, looking stunned. I want you both to understand something, I said. This isn't about me being mean or petty. This is about respect. You've told me in words and actions that I'm not your parent, and you don't answer to me. Okay, I accept that. But parents provide for their children. If I'm not your parent, then I'm not obligated to provide for you. Mason, for the first time since I'd known him, looked uncertain. You're really going to make us leave? You told me I had no authority over you in my own house. You were right, but authority and responsibility go together. No authority means no responsibility. Chloe started crying then. But where will we go? To your dad's, I said gently. He's your parent. I'm just your mum's husband, remember? I helped David load their things into his car. As they were getting ready to leave, Mason looked at me. What if we want to come back? Then you'll need to decide if you can treat me with the same respect you'd show your father, because that's what I am in this house, a father figure who deserves basic respect. They left with David that,